Hey guys, it's Lucas here from Sports Tips by Jellyman. A first edition of our NRL overview, so a round by round overview. Unfortunately, late in the season being round 18, but never a better time to give a bit of an overview and a bit of preview for the next round. So I'll kick off with the Friday night game. So Friday night saw the Titans versus the Eels. Eels won 26-8. Brown showed his class in the halves without Moses. Gutherson was in everything without Mitch Moses, so kicking the ball, everything like that. The Titans defense was good throughout the game, but their attack just wasn't there. Maybe that was partially due to the Eels' defense. Proctor going to the bin at a certain part of the game impacted the Titans and them not being able to score and having to obviously focus in on defense against the Eels. And David Fifita, he plays some good games, some bad games. When he has the ball in his hands, he's unstoppable, but he's a bit of a flat track bully. He needs to get his hands on the ball and have those Payne Haas-like runs or the big forwards-like runs. He just doesn't have that workload at the moment. And he's definitely capable of it for the Titans. So it'll be interesting to see how they use him towards the back end of the season. Overall, the Eels win a game they should have won. But the Titans are showing a bit of promise, so they may be able to jump into that 8. Jamal Fogarty had a compound fracture in his finger, so we'll see how that pans out across the next few weeks. If he's not in there, their kicking game is sort of down on its haunches. It's just Ash Taylor. Second game of the Friday night was the Sea Eagles versus the Dragons. Manly won 32-18. The Dragons were in it till half time, but Des would have baked the Sea Eagles and maybe mentioned a bit about the St. George week that it has been. But yeah, we can't expect the Dragons doing much across the next few weeks with a few of their key players out due to what happened and the media circus that it has been. Kieran Foran was dominant without Daly Cherry Evans, scored a try just after half-time to sort of give Manly a bit of a lead, and then he just sort of took it away from there. Manly don't look great at all though without, and don't look as dominant without Tommy Turbo. He obviously comes back in next week through returning from Origin, but Manly win as they should have. And the circus around St. George, yeah, we're just not sure what's going to happen across the next few weeks. We're not going to probably back them in for many games. Just with everything going on, maybe they might win a few, but we expect them to drop out of the 8 there. Now the Saturday ticket, so the Roosters versus the Cowboys. The Roosters won 34-18. North Queensland, they started well, but as the game went on, sort of dropped a few players. And just weren't as dominant, and then Sydney just sort of ran over the top of them with their class. I think it was like 3 tries after the 60th minute. So Sydney hit back, but I think Sydney might drop out of that top 4 depending on who comes back for them. They obviously had a close game the other week against the Dogs. But yeah, we'll see how their back end of the season fares. The Raiders versus the Sharks was lucky enough to go to the back end of this one. So the Raiders ended up winning 34-18. When I got there, it was about 18-16. The Raiders were behind. Then that last 20 minutes, the Sharks just stopped some crucial turnovers within that 20-metre zone on defence and returning the ball. Mulatalo offloaded one backwards, and Xavier Savage ended up getting his first try with ease. So not sure what's going on down in Sharkland. Everyone's sort of playing for their contract down there. There's a bit of uncertainty, but we'll see what happens at Cronulla. Now, the third game on that Saturday ticket was the Storm versus the Knights. So the Storm were 48-4. Melbourne were up 30-0 at half-time after a Nico Hines shoey, which was one of the better try celebrations we've seen. Newcastle without Ponga. So Ponga played the first 10-15 minutes. I think had a big hit and then went off with a HIA, then just didn't come back on after then. So they just looked sort of dead in the water and buggered, potentially through a week of travel and everything like that for Newcastle, as well as they didn't really use their bench well either. So we noticed obviously sitting right in front of their bench, they only used 1 or 2 players, and then Ponga came off, and they only had 1 player rotating on through the forwards. And then 17 and 18, blimey, what remembering their names are, I won't guess that. But they only went on, I think it was the 70th minute or so when the game was dead in the water. So I'm not too sure how their rotations are going down at Newcastle. But overall, the Storm win another good game and kill another team on their way to another potential minor premiership. Now, Sunday, the Sunday ticket, so Warriors versus Panthers. Warriors went down 3 players in the first 20 minutes, and big players, mind you that. So Tohu Harris, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, and Wayne Egan. They had a gallant effort to keep in the game throughout it. Ended up only going down 30-16. Welsh was brilliant again in his ball playing ability and just finding those holes for his centres and also his forwards. He's definitely a player to watch in the coming years. Now the Panthers, they just don't look the same without Cleary and Luai, obviously their main two halves. Burton and May have filled that job okay, but To'o, James Fisher-House and Kikau really carried them through that game. So they'll need, obviously, Cleary and Luai back in the back end of the year to compete for that premiership. Second game on the Sunday ticket was the Broncos versus the Tigers. 42-24, the Tigers won. The game was actually in the balance until about the 60th minute. I think it was 24-26, and Osako goes over in about the 62nd minute and then does a backflip, and then they review the try and no try. And then it just seemed like the Broncos stopped. I think the Tigers put in 3 tries from there. Dewey ended with 5 try assists and 140 plus run meters. And the Tigers bounced back after 3 losses in a row. The third and final game of the Sunday ticket and the weekend was the Rabbitohs versus the Bulldogs. So South won 32-24. They started quick, Dogs pulled it back. That halftime incident, who knows what that was. There's not much atmosphere up in the Gold Coast for that Sunday afternoon game, so I can see why potentially the South didn't come out with that as much energy, and the Bulldogs were able to get in a few tries. Bulldogs positively have been able to find a few points and might sign Tavita Pangai Jr., which gives them a bit of tack through the middle, a big ball playing forward, as well as that offloads through the middle. But overall in that one, South win, but not a great win. And we're the same as the Eels with them. Gus mentioned about the Eels not being able to contend for that premiership, or no one thinks of them as that premiership contender against the Panthers and the Storm. The Souths are in that same sort of conversation, so they need to focus on winning those 2 big games towards the back end of the season to contest for that premiership. Feel free to like, follow and subscribe for more insights, overviews and previews on the NRL and NBA.